in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered as a community meeting. There is an opportunity for public participation during the meeting, and comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual. The board will listen to comments, but may not respond during the meeting. If you wish to address the board, well, I would normally say submit a comment card immediately. But what we're going to be doing differently, when we do have public participation, if you notice in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, there is a hand icon. When we get to public participation, please click on the hand. I would then still ask you to state your name and your address, and then allow you to have your 3 minutes. Roll call. Charles Hicks, Board President.
Daryl B. Joyce, Vice President.
Good evening, Leslie Love Smith Thomas, Board Secretary.
Michael Poole, Board Trustee.
Good evening,
Trustee.
Talisha Rice, Board Trustee. I should also mention that I'm still working with Trustee Robinson. She's in.
Board President, if you wish to continue the call, and then Dr. Jennifer Green, and taking notes this evening will be Ms. Andrea Philpotts.
Well, if we can just take a moment in place and let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Board matters. Does any trustee have anything for board matters at this time? Okay. Hearing none. Report of the superintendent. Dr. Green.
Yes, good evening, Board President and all trustees. This evening, all that we have to discuss is primarily around the global pandemic, that being COVID-19. First, I will start with the governor's executive orders. Since COVID-19 first hit the state of Michigan back on March 10th, the governor has signed 38 respective executive orders as to how we should conduct business in order to save lives and to flatten the curve relative to the pandemic. I would venture to say that every one of us has been impacted by someone either positive or have lost the life of someone that we know. And if we could, and with your permission, if we could have a moment of silence, because it has impacted our community in particular quite hard, as Southfield has been the greatest impacted in all of Oakland County. So with your permission and the permission of the trustees, if we could have silence for those that have been impacted.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you. The Executive Order 2020-35 has impacted the school districts most of all. That is when the governor requested that all school buildings be closed for the duration of the year. That was after she had already issued a building closure for 3 weeks. Then it was extended to 4 weeks. Now it's through the duration of the 2019-2020 academic school year. Charged with developing a continuity of learning plan for all of our students that had to contain 14 different components. Instead of listening to me, I would like to highlight the architects of that plan that have done an amazing job pulling all of the components together in a very short time period. I'll start with Chief Academic Officer, Mr. Ricky Fountain, and helping us on technical assistance will be Anika Corbett. She will pull up the plan for us to see and for our community to see for the first time. I will also like to outline that this plan came with instructional leaders throughout our district. We had teachers, union leaders, and the instructional infrastructure of the Board of Education did have an opportunity to spend time with the plan and ask a number of questions last night as well. And they're both on the call, but they both they were quite impressed with the work that had gone and the thoughtfulness that had gone into the plan. So Mr. Fountain, if you could jump on, and Anika Corbett, if you could share your screen.
Good afternoon, trustees. Good afternoon, Dr. Green. It is a pleasure to be here with you all. Can you all hear me clearly?
Yeah. So Mr. Fountain, before you say anything, for the trustees and all the who are logged on as panelists, I did mute all so that, because I kept hearing some background noise. So if you did want to ask questions, just unmute yourself at that time. But I was going to keep everyone on mute to minimize the background noise. Okay. Mr. Fountain, I'm sorry.
No, you're absolutely fine. Thank you, President Hicks. So as Dr. Green said, pulling the plan together was a collaborative process amongst a variety of different stakeholders in the district. The curriculum team did a fantastic job. We had a lot of contributions from the assessment team, data teams, union representations, just a variety of different people worked on the plan. We began formulating a virtual plan, and we actually posted the first version of the remote learning plan mid-March. When we knew that we were going to be out for 3 weeks at that time, we immediately posted a virtual learning plan on the district website in preparation for a possible long-term school closure. So we have been gathering an enormous amount of plans, some in state, some out of state. We grabbed and reviewed plans from Illinois, Virginia, Boston, and New York, just to name a few states. States that had already began doing long-term remote learning plans so that we can cross-reference core information and have a wealth of different information to choose from and to assess. Once we knew that we were going to be out for the extended duration of this school year, we, of course, awaited guidance from the NDE to get a sense of what exactly were the direct expectations that we had already set, some of our own specific expectations around the work for the district. Once we confirmed what the application required, and Dr. Green referenced, there were 15 particular elements that we had to include in the plan. And all those elements, based on our cross-referencing, our meetings over the last week and a half, a lot of our due diligence as a collective team, we're very confident that all of those 15 components that are expected to be reflected in the plan are reflected in the plan and are reflected in the plan in a way that's extremely palatable, accessible, and more than anything else, it's something we can execute at the district level and within our school settings and our virtual learning settings now. I'm going to kind of give some highlights. As Dr. Green referenced, the instructional committee, myself and Dr. Green met yesterday, and we pretty much went through the plan as much as we could in an hour and a half or 2 hours that we were together. And we wanted to make sure that the plan included all of those core elements. And I was very comfortable with the nature of the conversation, and I believe that we lifted those core elements. The main thing I want to reference just globally before I talk about specific components of the plan, what we wanted to ensure was that the plan, it met the requirements of the application, that the plan was done in the spirit of pastoral care for students and families, that the plan was something that we're doing to ensure we follow a framework, but we're coming into the plan design with the mindset that the plan isn't the end all be all. We're experiencing a very extraordinary situation, and we want to have an extraordinary level of compassion and pastoral care, and we wanted to infuse that in the plan. And that comes through, I think, extremely loudly in the plan itself. The plan is 34 pages, and the plan, it outlines in no small measure all of the relevant components that should occur on a traditional day-to-day academic process. There are portions of the plan that deal with, and I don't know if I'm trying to see if I'm looking at the plan now or I didn't want to go too far ahead. Okay, it looks like the plan is coming up. So I'll wait till it scroll up and then I can do a bullet by bullet, just general summary of what's actually in the plan. So as you can see here, These are, very specific components of the plan, things that we had to include in the plan. There's a timeline. The state requires us to have a submitted plan for approval by April 28th. Of course, we're working with the aggressive mindset that we're actually able to execute the plan starting next week, which obviously was incumbent upon us to have a draft and a final plan for the board's review and the superintendent's review so that we could hopefully launch the execution of the plan beginning Monday. That would be the ideal, and most districts within Oakland County are launching their virtual online instruction based on their submitted plans next week. Nika, are you? Yep, you can keep scrolling down. I'll let you know where to stop. So this is giving you some of the preliminary information regarding the continuity of plan. So we'll stop at number 1, and I'm not going to read the plan verbatim because it is, it's lengthy. This is phase 1, the application process, and then the actual plan itself is another 34 pages. So I'll try to make sure, capture the spirit of the questions so that people have a core sense of what we're trying to do. So the first question, as you can see, it wanted us to just describe what methods we would use to provide alternative modes of instruction. If you scroll down and look at our response, you'll see that a major emphasis within our response to number 1 is that we're trying to execute a plan that has mixed methods, which includes obviously online technology as one of our methods to ensure that instruction continues at a high level. We've also included academic packets to ensure that we're able to provide and meet the needs of families in both mediums. The core component of number 1, it makes reference to, you can keep scrolling down, Anika, if you can. It makes reference to what things have we done at the district level up to this point to ensure that our family needs were met. So as we already discussed that in mid-March, we had began putting some things in place. So on March 13th, we did a rollout of Chromebooks for our families. And at that session, we gave approximately 380 Chromebooks to families based on survey data, based on the needs of the community that were expressed. We did a second distribution on March 18th. And at that point, we distributed approximately 460 additional Chromebooks and an additional 230 academic packets. So the first part of the process is what have we done and what will we continue to do to support the distance learning. So in that response, we referenced what we had done up to this point, what things that we will continue to do to support student learning. We talked about and referenced how we want to focus in on the socio-emotional health of our families in the community, making sure that our students know that we care about them, that we care about their needs, and that we want to cultivate their growth through our supportive model. We recognize, as Dr. Freeman says so eloquently, this is a time to focus on compassion more than compliance. And we wanted to infiltrate that into the spirit of the plan. So question number 1 wanted us to outline and specifically identify what we had done and what we will continue to do to ensure that the distance learning process can operate in an effective manner within the district. And so as we scroll down and make our way to question number 2, it outlines how we want to, of course, ensure that students are at the center of what we do. We want to integrate these processes around wellness checks, plans for student learnings, which obviously this is what we have. Utilize appropriate scheduling. You can continue to scroll down, Nika. And then we're obviously utilizing our curriculum content. We're utilizing appropriate pacing guides with the recognition that when you're teaching the whole child, that this is a very unique situation and that you are not necessarily going to be able to, in a virtual learning environment in these conditions, to simulate or recreate the traditional day-to-day experience. So we're working with that in mind, and we're infusing in the plan the important elements of social emotional learning, making sure that we execute trauma-informed approaches to learning. And these are embedded within the plan, and they'll be embedded in our ongoing execution of the plan moving forward. You can continue to scroll through, Anika. And so,
I'm sorry, Mr. Fountain, if I could just jump in. Mr. Fountain is being very modest in sharing that the plan is 34 pages. As Anika scrolls through, you'll see that there are a lot of there's a lot of text that's highlighted in blue. Those are hyperlinks to additional supplemental plans that we have in place. For example, the trauma-informed instruction. That will take you to another document that may be in excess of 20 pages that speaks specifically to that of trauma-informed instruction. So while the plan in general is 34 pages, in totality, I would venture to say the plan is several hundred pages based on all of the supplementary materials that the team has gathered.
thank you, Dr. Green. You can continue to scroll down, Anika. Obviously, Dr. Green has captured that part quite eloquently, so I won't repeat it. You will be able to see, though, that we have included all groups of the students that we want to support and represent in the district, including our students who have special needs, students who receive support for EL, and a variety of subgroups. It's a fully inclusive whole child construction, and that's something that's represented in the plan. And we wanted to integrate all of those different professionals to ensure that the plan included not just the whole child in essence, but all of our children as a whole school community. And we try to, as Dr. Green referenced, utilize links so that if you didn't get a clear perspective based on your initial read and you needed more specific information for those specific students and families, those recommendations would be accessible to you by a link. That was, for the most part, continue, Mrs. Corbett, and that's really, for the most part, how we managed the first phase. You can stop here, though. We managed the first phase of the construction of the plan, making sure that we focused on the whole child, making sure that we gave very user-friendly and accessible information. And we wanted to make sure that every group that we serve in Southfield was not only included in the plan, but they were giving top-tier access to core information regarding whatever level they were at or whatever need they had. So once we went through and we were comfortable with the phase one of the plan, and we tried to break the plan down because it's somewhat extensive, we tried to break it down in parts, and we would complete a part, let it incubate, come back together, make adjustments, modifications, and it was such a close-knit team effort that we were able to do a lot of very powerful and important revisions as we moved. Once we were comfortable with the full inclusiveness of the plan and that it was reflecting the needs of all of our students, we transitioned on to what the guidelines, and this is one of the most essential parts of the plan for me, being an educator and a teacher at heart. Core piece of educating our students during this time, we cannot overstate. And if you look at what we have listed at number one, we wanted to create a hierarchy and what we consider to be the priority based on the work that we wanted to occur over the next 8 weeks. Our number one was the health, safety, and family first framework, and it explains it in very keen detail. We recognize that this is an unprecedented situation for not only students, but their families. We recognize that for many of our families, education is a core part of what they believe, and education is a core part of what they love. But we understand that the dynamics of this global pandemic has upset the traditional way that a lot of us move in our day-to-day lives. And so the spirit of the plan was to ensure that when teachers are working with families, that we keep the first thing first, and the health, safety, and the power of our families comes first. And we should teach and lead and collaborate with that being our top priority. You can continue to scroll down, Anika. And so we wanted the guidelines to reflect what we feel as a district is most important through the teaching process. You can also look at the numbers, identify, so you can slow down, Anika. I wanted to hit, if you don't mind scrolling back down to number 3 and 4. And so as you can, we wanted number one, obviously, to be number one specifically and purposely because we want that to be the spirit with which our instructors communicate and work with our families. We recognize that this process for educators, even really skilled and experienced ones, this is a different process because you're not just teaching virtually, you're teaching virtually with a certain level of empathy, with a high level of pastoral care, with a true recognition that your families and students may have the best intentions to be academically solid, but they could be distracted and impacted by things that are outside of their sphere of control. So we want teachers to work with what I would consider to be a powerful simplicity. We don't want to overload our families with information. We want to streamline that process, and we want to make sure that kids are constantly being guided, supported, and constantly be given the opportunity to participate, knowing full well that there may be some circumstances that impact or operate as barriers to the learning process. So begin with the known, identify what distinct learning tools you that are available to your students. You can continue to scroll now, Anika. Thank you. Number 5 is core, because we want to focus on feedback. One of the things that the governor in her executive order that she explicitly states more than once, and so does the superintendent of the state, that students should not be harmed during this process. And the way that we look at accountability and the way that we process grading and some of these other more traditional measures whereby we work with students, we have to be very mindful of the circumstances are putting us in a position where we need to focus more on growth, feedback, and support. And it's explicitly stated at one part of the plan that the focus for schoolwork is on learning and growth, not compliance and punitive measures for students. So the key thing about feedback is we're constantly trying to grow, support, and push our students to improved understanding of standards and capacity. But we also recognize that feedback oftentimes isn't grade-based. So we want to have teachers understand that they don't have to feel necessarily encumbered or inhibited by the traditional mindset around grading. With feedback, it's about growth, support, and student movement. It doesn't have to necessarily, in this instance, always result in a hardcore growth. Based on their control. You can continue to scroll, Anika. And so some of these items, the caregiver guidelines, I won't go bullet by bullet, but we wanted to include what those guidelines were. We wanted to be as explicit as possible so people had a clear sense of exactly what we wanted the optimal outcome to be. This is critical. If you look at bullet 5, and this is where we were really fortunate to have such a strong team to access and analyze the data. One of the things that we wanted to ensure, and we will share this obviously when the plan is approved and made public, at the time frame that kids customarily use during a traditional school day, it's not what the research says they're supposed to do virtually on computers at home. And so we wanted to explicitly make that reference. And I've had a lot of parents reach out to me thanking us because we gave guidance on our first remote learning plan with how much time the research says kids should work on screen times when they're doing the virtual learning process. We wanted to be very explicit because although students are still learning and they're getting the school experience and they're getting enriching and valuable core content, it's not a direct translation. You had 7.5 hours of school at a traditional school setting, and at home you should be on a computer 7.5 straight hours as it relates to screen time and access to some of the information that students would customarily get. So we wanted to include that so that we can ensure that families are aware. It's not an expectation for Southfield that parents are sitting monitoring their students working from 7 to 8 hours a day, which is the traditional school day time. We recognize that the research says that it's not healthy. It's not healthy for students in a variety of ways. And so we want to obviously support students and give more flexible times with which students can complete work within the student traditional work day. Also, you can scroll down a little bit, Anika. We wanted to make sure that everyone has a clear path to access the information that they need and know exactly who to go to. for those directive questions. And so this section just gives specific directions. If you have questions regarding these items, these are the individuals you will go to, and we're actually going to do an enhanced list, an updated list, so that everybody can have specific connections building by building. There'll be an opportunity to fill out the information. So if you are a parent at, X school, there'll be specific contact information regarding that at school and those specific staff members, so that there is a consistent and continuous flow of information based on your needs. You can continue to scroll through it, Nika. And feel free at any time. You can start right there, Nika. You can feel free at any time to ask any additional questions. I'm trying to give you a pretty general summary without giving you an exhaustive summary, because a lot of the information is really just is a part of our core philosophy, and a lot of the things that we're identifying in this plan, as I said before, had already been shared with the initial plan, and a lot of the processes, thankfully, a core of our staff and buildings have been utilizing them up to this point. So it didn't make the transition as daunting, because some of the processes that we're going to roll out in the plan, some of the staffs had already began using those processes in their school buildings. We also wanted to be very specific regarding who was responsible for what in the plan. So as you can see, we included a responsibility chart for personnel and specific responsibilities thereof, because we want the whole district and our community, our stakeholders, to recognize we all play a part. We all have responsibilities, and we're all working for the best interest of our students in our community. And it's imperative that we work in this way, because the nature of this process requires all hands on deck, literally, to provide support and provide different additional instructional resources for families and specifically students, so they can be successful. So we included each department, we outlined specific responsibilities, and we wanted to make sure that we gave people a sense of our united front in managing this unexpected challenge that we're going to work through and be successful through. You can continue, Anika. And so the list continues, and it's pretty much exactly as we said, that every member within the district plays an essential role, and everyone has a responsibility. So you can stop right there. This is critical too. We want to front load our educators, building leaders as well, with our core considerations. And these are, again, research-based points of emphasis, that when teachers are planning their lessons, when building leaders are having their building level meetings with their staff, we definitely want to focus more on the needs of our students, more on their non-academic needs, because without the non-academic needs being met, students are going to be unable to be successful academically. So we want to start there first, recognizing that, again, the context of this global pandemic, our children are at a different mindset. It's not their fault, and it's not something that they should be distanced from the reality. So we want to teach and lead with that vein. So when teachers are planning, we wanted to give some very specific guidance, research-based guidance, as what we think people need to include in their planning process. And you can see we just included a couple of key elements based on some recent research and other approved plans from other states, what they're integrating into the planning process. You can see students may or may not have a consistent caregiver with them every day. We want to make sure that the instructions are written so students can understand them independently. And I won't read the whole layout for you, but we want to emphasize the considerations of engagement for our students, and that every student now in this current situation, there could be barriers in place. We need to be sensitive of those barriers so that our students have the optimal opportunity to be successful. You can continue, Anika. Stop right there. So Another core part of our plan, and I will say this, as Dr. Green referenced, our plan was a little longer because we did include components of the plan that wasn't required by the state. We just felt it appropriate to give an additional set of guidance around things that we felt were essential. And we wanted a lot more research around what is an appropriate minimum and maximum time of engagement during the virtual learning process, where the data has shown students can be more successful. So we broke it down by grade level, and we wanted everyone to have access to it and bear that in mind. So when people are planning, they obviously have a sense, teachers have a core sense of how they should facilitate the process. How often should students get breaks? When should they do check-ins, check-out? If they're doing extended direct instruction, what is the recommended time that kids will stay at attention on a computer screen? And so we just included some of the most up-to-date research on virtual learning and what has been successful under traditional circumstances. We wanted to give as much guidance, knowing that parents are activating a lot of the guidance now at home, being a primary and a secondary educator, working with us as primary and secondary educators in Southfield. You can continue, Anika. And so you can stop right there. So what we did, we broke down the core content areas, the recommended time on task, and then we gave guidance around some of the student tasks. In our job, from the district's perspective, working with the curricular team, working with assessment data, we wanted to make sure that we gave guidance without taking away the autonomy of leaders and buildings and teachers to take the guidance and create plans and create academic opportunities around the guidance. Because what we're required to do is to create a framework whereby the teachers and leaders are able to create learning activities and opportunities for students based on their needs. So while we're not in a position to explicitly say, Monday teach this, we're giving guidance around what we believe the time should look like, the content focus, and how do you integrate these different content elements at scale throughout the district. And so the time piece will lead to the task, and that will help guide the planning process and the execution of lessons. You can continue to scroll down, Anika. And so we do this for all the grade bands. You can continue to scroll down. And so once we get to, you can keep going down because I'm going to stop in a second. So you can stop. You can stop right there, Nikki. You can stop right there. Scroll back down for me, please, if you don't mind. Go to page 23. Okay, and so we give some pretty specific guidance around establishing expectations for teacher and students, establishing how you will monitor participation. And there's a clear distinction between monitoring participation versus monitoring attendance. Because what we also are recognizing through the executive order of the governor, as well as through best practice during virtual learning, we're responsible for monitoring and supporting. Obviously, we want daily participation. We're going to do our best to support it. But if students, for reasons outside of their control, have challenges, we're going to do daily, maybe every third day checks if students haven't logged on, if students haven't reached out, if students haven't participated. But we're not using attendance as a way to measure or punish students if they're not in a particular daily activity or lesson. So we have to also recalibrate the way our mind works around. As traditional teachers, many have worked in the traditional mindset. Students miss a certain amount of days. It'll affect their performance score. It'll affect their participation, obviously. But within the construct of the COVID virtual learning process, we have to support and we have to ensure that students are given optimal opportunity to participate. And if they're not participating, we have to continue to coach, encourage, and work aggressively to pull them back into the educational landscape of their classroom and their school setting. So we want to make sure that we are focusing on the spirit of the plan, which is growth, support, and student progress, and we're doing children no harm, and we're not making children feel guilty. I saw some examples. I was looking at, again, doing research on how other districts are managing this, and one of the core mistakes that were being made, there were teachers who were obviously doing their due diligence, identifying students who were participating in some of their Google Classrooms, but in doing so, there was conversations in their Google chats regarding how many students were or were not participating, and unfortunately and inevitably, by doing so, there's a possibility that you can indirectly shame or make students feel less than if they're not able to participate, not knowing what barriers are in place regarding participation. We want to be very sensitive to that. We want to check on every student that we have. We also want to make sure that we're doing it with the spirit of compassion, support, and care, as opposed to making our compliance checks, which can create more alienation for students, particularly if they have additional barriers to overcome. You can continue, Anika. And so we address the attendance parameters, of course, within the plan. That's outlined here. You can continue, Anika. So you can start right there. You can start right at the new tier of learning. So we also outline within the plan, what do the tiers of learning look like? And we'll have examples of what a new tier of instruction look like. You're exposing children to new content. You're exposing them to a new priority standard. And as you can see, we have a hyperlink regarding the priority standards. You're giving kids new exposure and you're setting new expectation regarding content. And then we've outlined what the new tier of instruction looks like. You can continue, Anika. Then we identified, we went from new tier of instruction and we gave the modes of communication. You can continue to scroll down, Anika. And so you can stop there, Anika. So all of that was just shared with you was all just question number one. So I know that was a lot. That was question number one of 14 in the application. And I think I had a question from Leslie Love Smith. Thomas?
Yes, good evening. My question is around the system of monitoring the engagement for students who are not using online measures, but they're picking up packets. Do we have a system in place just to monitor that that's their level of engagement?
Yes, we do, and that's an excellent question. So for every student that's registered in the class, the teachers are monitoring online participation in the academic process, as well as students who may be picking up packets or doing what would be a more non-traditional virtual experience. So teachers will have opportunities to do specific check-ins on all their students, and they'll create different venues and avenues of communication to ensure their needs are met, whether it's on a phone call, whether it's through email. And you also know that we are going to work on potentially facilitating an additional opportunity to distribute Chromebooks for those who haven't received it in the first few distributions, because we realize that the virtual process with technology for many is a much quicker, smoother process. But for those who don't have the technology, there'll still be an expectation that teachers are doing due diligence, checking on students and providing them support in whichever medium is conducive to the home and the student.
Are there other questions, Mr. Fountain?
No, that was the only one I saw. And one of the bigger questions I'm going to deal with when we get towards the end, and it's one that I think may have popped up, but I'll address it at the end because it's one of the bigger questions that's what I call a looming question about the process. So I'll continue to move through, and of course, if any questions come up or any questions are burning, feel free, and I'll definitely respond. So that was question number one, as I said. Now we're on to Again, it references what methods are we using to keep our students at the center of our activities. And if you could scroll down, Anika, you can stop right there. And so we've outlined what are our guidelines, how are we communicating with students, families, and how we are communicating among staff. This whole question really can be summed up in one sentence. The need to support the growth and support of students is at the center of this plan. That's really number two. And we try to explain what that means in very specific detail by giving particular guidelines. How are we explicitly communicating, and what's at the core of our communication? And what I mean by that, I'll give you a very specific example. There are two ways to communicate when you want to get information regarding academic progress. You can make an inquiry that starts with what are students doing and how they're growing academically as the first question. Or you can make an inquiry with how is the student and family doing to move forward, to grow, continue to function in the situation that we're functioning in collectively. And so we're trying to recalibrate the way that our thinking works around the way we engage our students and families specifically. This is a school process. It's a learning process. But the core of our work for this plan to work effectively is this is a student and family-centered process where their needs and the way that they function in this context is the most important thing to us, and their growth and support is the most important thing to us. The academic components are a part of our day-to-day product for our students, and the way that we have a relationship that ensures that they're going to continue to get the content. But at the core of our work is how we work with students, how we support our students, and how we give them the greatest opportunity to be successful during this unprecedented time. And so the question is all about pastoral care for families and students. And this whole response, we wanted to be very explicit in terms of how we reflect, how we execute, and how we follow up. So you can continue to scroll down, Anika. So we gave specific guidance around how we need to communicate with families, students, teachers, to ensure that we remain focused on what the students' needs are, recognizing that our students are operating in an unprecedented time and their families are as well. So that was question number two. Any questions about number two? Okay, I will proceed with number three. And so number one and number three are very closely connected. And so we talk about making sure that and I think I've referenced this before in the first part of the vision, giving our families what they need based on what they tell us they need and what we know we want to have for their usage and for their continued progress. And so this just reiterates some of the things that we've done as it relates to our technology, as it relates to some of our academic distribution. And as you can continue, Anika. And we talked about what is the role of some of these devices and or academic packets. We also wanted to include, you can stop right there, Anika, what's essential to a virtual learning community is digital citizenship, and just reminding our students that when you operate in this community space that's digital, there are certain parameters around good citizenship, and we wanted to be very specific. And we know that our teachers will continue to remind our students when you operate in the digital community, levels of appropriateness, how you engage appropriately academically, respect and responsiveness to adults, being very polite in your communication. An extension of what should be happening in classrooms, we want to make sure that people are operating with the proper digital citizenship. So we gave particular reminders, and then we also included policies around what that looks like. You can scroll down, Anika, from the perspective of leaders and educators, what does it look like to be a good digital citizen? And then we gave specific tools and resource references. As you can see, all of these tools are accessible to our students as instructional platforms, which reinforces that you're going to be fully immersed in for many in a digital interchange, and we want you to behave and produce and perform according to those expected standards. So we just outlined all of the digital platforms that our students have access to based on their grade bands and based on the core content areas. We also included some additional resources that we felt could be advantageous to our students. You can stop there, Anika, with Detroit television. It looked like I have a question that just popped up. So I'll stop there and wait for the question.
Yes, my question is around iReady. Did we find that there are any opportunities, or do we know if there's any opportunities to expand on any grants so that we can expand it district-wide because of the conditions we're under currently, or is that not an option?
So that's a very good question. Actually, myself and Summer Carruthers, for our director of assessment, her and I actually have a call later this week with our iReady contacts regarding additional opportunities, as well as we're in a unique situation in that, as you know, we were piloting 2 schools with iReady during this closure. And so we're having conversations regarding, they've offered us the potential of allowing their instructional platform to be used for the whole district. And there's some other opportunities. However, we want to operate within the spirit of the pilot, and we don't want to feel rushed. And we have to give our 2 schools an opportunity to go through the pilot to give core, honest feedback of value. So once we have that conversation later this week about opportunities to either expand or reinforce what we've been working on, then I'm sure I'll report back out to Dr. Green with an update, because from where they sat, their expectation was, of course, by late May, June, we would be making a wide-scale recommendation to make a decision about expanding it. But because we've only had really 2 core months of being able to utilize it, assess its value, have conversations with teachers and leaders, we want to follow the full spirit of the pilot. And more than likely, we were asked if they're willing to let us finish the pilot or extend the pilot into next year and maybe bring on another school or so. But I'm uncomfortable with making a determination about a pilot that we only had an opportunity to work with for 2 months. And I want to be fair to the teachers and leaders, because we said that we were going to give them a full testing cycle, be able to make a determination. And of course, it's outside of anyone's control regarding why we hadn't. But I'll have more information hopefully later this week to be able to give you a clearer designation of where we're going.
Trustee, if I could add to that, we are also looking to implement any platform with full fidelity, and that would require those new teachers to have extensive professional development and training prior to implementing any new platform. So we want to make sure, as Mr. Fountain indicated, that we're being true to the program and also dedicated to our teaching staff and not giving them too much. We want everyone to be successful in this process. You did bring up a good point relative to grant dollars. And one thing that we are doing throughout this process, we are applying for each and every grant that comes across my desk. I believe that Mr. Beebe and Mr. Marshall have become semi-experts in applying for grants here lately, because if it comes across our desk, we're applying for it, and the worst they can do is tell us no. We have been successful in getting some mini grants to support our food service. We were successful in getting a larger grant from United Way to help us with getting hot spots for some of our families. So please know that any dollars that are available, of which we are eligible, we are applying.
Okay, I will, now we're at question number 4. And so we wanted to include, it said, describe the district's plan to manage and monitor learning. I think I referenced the focus on earlier in my conversation. The state referenced that we need to focus more on participation and support than the traditional attendance for the purpose of compliance and or sometimes punishment. And so we wanted to include specific experts from the state, which was the governor, the state superintendent, and we obviously included that information, and we wanted to extract specific information from either the governor's executive order and or some of the governor's pronouncements about how we should monitor student participation. And the focus is more on participation. As you look at her second bullet, it says students and families will not be punished if they're unable to participate in the plan. So our responsibility is to, and I'll just make it very clear based on what the spirit of the plan says, our responsibility is to provide daily instruction and access for all students in Southfield, giving them the optimal opportunity to grow and learn. We're also responsible for having daily recommended learning guidelines, which we've already included. And so we're going to monitor the participation. We're going to follow up with students who have not been online and or within contact past a day or two. We'll set that determination internally so we can make sure all of our students are being contacted, being given an opportunity to participate in the process. What we will not do is punish students, belittle students, embarrass students, make families feel anxietous if a student missed a session or two based on circumstances that are outside their control. And so again, it's a philosophical shift. We're about participation and monitoring participation, encouraging participation and celebrating participation. As you can see, in her final bullet, it says what we want to make sure is that no student is penalized because of COVID, and they're not held back. And that's really been a part of the guidance that we've attempted to follow, knowing that a lot of times non-attendance, a session or two sessions could translate into either indirect or direct embarrassment and or higher levels of accountability for students in a situation that's absolutely unprecedented. We wanted to include specific information from the government, or the governor rather, as well as specific information from the executive order. You can scroll up because here's one of my bigger points, and I think a question was raised about grading. This is always, and you can start right there. This has been the biggest contention, not just for Southfield. This is the biggest national contention. I just was on a webinar earlier this week, and they had superintendents and district leaders across the nation, and they said, what is the biggest contention been in developing virtual plans? And this was the biggest one because of the way that we have, as an educator and a teacher and a principal and in an educational process, as long as I've been grading for students, it's almost a sacred cow in education. But under this circumstance, we have to look at grading a little bit differently, because if we're holding students harmless and if we're trying to ensure their growth and support, we can't look at grading in a traditional manner. So I'm going to give you our updates on our grading for each particular group, because we broke it down K5, 6, 8, 9, 12, knowing that the state guidelines only require 12th graders to actually get letter grades. Districts have the authority to determine grades from K all the way to 11. 12th graders are the only grade level that we're required by the state that they actually have a physical grade. And so the main thing I wanted to just basically rest on within our guidelines is what I have highlighted. And I pulled this exactly from one of the governor's conversations on education with the superintendent. The emphasis for schoolwork is on continuous learning, supported by monitoring feedback, not grades. And so although grading is essential obviously for us to ensure that students have met particular benchmarks, under this circumstance, it is extremely difficult, particularly from where I sit, for students to fail potentially, and they're going to miss almost 3 full months of instruction and be in a position where I consider it to be a difficult academic process to be a part of when you're dealing with a global situation that could be affecting your home in a very specific manner. So I wanted to qualify that. So when I get into actually what we're advising that our grade process looks like, that information will be shared up front, because the grading process and what grades should look like to ensure that students participate or students are held accountable, we just have to be extremely sensitive to the fact that last week I was on a call with all of the district superintendents, assistant chief officers on a teaching and learning call from Oakland, and they did a survey of maybe 100 or so districts in the state. And at that time, the survey results at a minimum, 90% of the districts who had submitted surveys regarding their next steps, 90% of the districts said that they were not doing grades at all, that they would do either a pass fail, a credit, no credit, or a credit incomplete with the potential to gain credit. Because the one thing that people seem to collectively appreciate about the grading process is the irrevocable damage it can have on students. You could double punish students when you're managing grades at a time when a lot of these circumstances are outside of their control. So I want you to see C, because that's one of the things that we noticed in all the plans that we looked at in Illinois, Austin, Fairfax County, and New York. It said this is not a time for failing students or adversely impacting their learning progress. So that is one of the core tenets upon which we built our philosophy regarding grades during this time. You can scroll down, Anika. And so once we get to the actual our suggestions about grades, and you can look at F. So this is when we begin our conversation around what we believe. Hold up, Anika. I want you to stop at F. I want you to scroll back up to F. Thank you. Now this is where we get into what we're giving our guidance around grades. And as you can say, we said, keep in mind the order put forth by the governor that students should be held harmless. In grades K-5, they will focus on obviously the improvement of skills, and in lieu of a performance rating or a letter grade, students will receive credit or incomplete with the opportunity of credit. And then we discussed later in the plan, what does incomplete with the opportunity for credit look like? And all students will be provided additional opportunity to support and improve their skills via distance learning. So for each grade band, we give a specific direction / suggestion as to what we believe should be done regarding grades and the rationale as to why. You can keep scrolling down, Anika. And with the recognition too, you can stop it at letter 8. And one of the things that we have that's been shared with us is obviously under the circumstances, the state recognizes that if students haven't been given the optimal opportunity within a traditional school structure, without some of these external barriers, these scores, these grades, these credits, they're going to be obviously a part of a student's final record. So that's one of the reasons we're very sensitive to failing students, because whatever you put as that final mark in June, that's a part of their final record. And that's why the advisement for most states in the country is to not fail students, and a lot of districts have already unilaterally said they're going to just move all their students up. We're not working within the vein of just moving everyone up. We want to still denote that there are some students who have deficits, and that's why we utilize the incomplete process to give them a chance to make some progress. But as I'm very uncomfortable in my seat failing any student under this circumstance, and knowing that these are extraordinary circumstances for adults, let alone students. So if they're going to get failure on their final record, there are extraordinary circumstances that are affected. I think most districts, and we will as well, if we follow this suggestion, you operate on the side of caution, because a kid can always get better. But if you put a failure mark on a student's final record, that can be a stain that they carry for an additional period of time. So if you continue to make your way through the plan, we say something very similar for 6 through 8. We have a very similar philosophy. The philosophy doesn't change by grade band. We believe that if a child is performing at level or above, obviously that child's going to receive the appropriate credit. If they're not, or if they were not, based on that March 11th cutoff, we're going to give them every feasible opportunity to make progress in the subject matter so they can move to a credit. Also, one of the things that we discussed as a district as well as the state, there are some districts who are using a credit / incomplete / credit COVID that pretty much suggests that if students were having academic difficulties, but you don't, as a district, feel comfortable failing, you can use credit / COVID and that would amplify. The student may need more remediation. The student may need to do some acceleration to move the level, but we're recognizing that it could be a disastrous decision to fail a student under these circumstances. So a lot of districts are trying to potentially implement more creative ways so you can still give a recognition if students don't submit work, if students don't make an academic effort, but we don't as a district want to contribute to a perpetuation of failure or a false failure based on extraordinary circumstances. And so what we're doing as it relates to managing grades is pretty much aligned with what the majority of the state is doing. If we gave core grades across the board, we would be one of the few districts in the state that actually did that. And I wanted to make sure I lifted that because that's more recent information based on district leaders across the state of Michigan. Most districts are moving away from a grading process under these circumstances, recognizing how extraordinary they are. So you can continue to scroll down because we have very specific guidance for seniors. And I want to make sure, so you go to J, letter J deals with seniors, and seniors are the only group that we're supposed to still give a letter grade to. And we give very specific guidance around how you can manage seniors. I wanted to reach out to Dr. Green because I know that Dr. Green has executive power over some of these more unique situations. And I don't know, Dr. Green, if you want to share with the team what you shared with the team last night regarding your authority to be able to make some other global decisions based on circumstances such as these, where you may have a senior that's trending to fail.
Well, we actually have some things that are on the table that that are later in the board agenda that we're asking the board to give executive powers to make some decisions relative to seniors. For example, we have some seniors that have signed on with the armed forces, and the armed forces are now reaching out to us asking that if our seniors are eligible for promotion at this time, that we sign off on their transcripts and allow them to enlist early and begin to serve our country. I don't have any objections to that, but without the executive power, we would have to bring each and every case before the board because it would be a variance from what our current board policy states. So if the board sees fit to grant those executive powers to execute the governor's executive order only, that will be something that we will have more flexibility in doing. The other piece that is weighing heavily on us right now is that of our student athletes with the NCAA and how they are going to evaluate our students as it pertains to grades in the very near future.
Thank you, Dr. Green. I hope I didn't steal your thunder for later. I wasn't aware you were going to bring it up later in the conversation, but I knew that.
That's okay. The board as well as the public, they have copies of the entire agenda and packet online. It's no surprise.
Nope, that sounds good. I wanted to make sure because I know there's a heightened sensitivity around all of our kids, any of our kids failing, but specifically as it relates to seniors being the only grade level where there's an expectation of a letter grade. And obviously there's so much on the line for our seniors. And one thing that was lifted in a meeting that we just had collectively, and if we really think about it from the standpoint of impact, maybe no other grade that we're working with this year has been impacted or is going to be impacted more than seniors. Seniors are losing more this year probably than any grade as it relates to external and extracurricular opportunities, ceremonies, camaraderie opportunities that have all been stripped away and will more than likely be stripped away in a traditional sense. And that was another rationale regarding how we need to manage and foster support for our students in times that are tremendously unprecedented. And again, we want to be sensitive to failing our students in a double way, academically, as well as sensitivity to the actual times that we're managing. So we gave our recommendation and guidance based on research, based on what the trends are within the state, and based on what we felt was logical and what we can manage appropriately with the sharp nature of how this whole situation rolled out. And when it rolled out, we don't have a tremendous amount of time. I think I have a question that just popped up. Mrs. Love Smith? Thomas?
Yes. Yes, when we had the meeting yesterday, the conversation that you brought as it relates to our higher ed institutions that we have relationships with, if that could just be brought to the public as we possibly can, just regarding the sensitivity with our seniors, as you've already spoken to, and what we're doing to make sure that, or what you all are doing rather, to make sure that the seniors don't miss out on the next phase of what they are looking to approach as it relates to higher ed.
Right. I think Dr. Green and I both referenced this. I'll share what I shared with the team yesterday in terms of what a lot of higher ed institutions are talking about and or considering moving in a particular direction. So we have had a number of conference calls and outreach to state universities, and a lot of state universities have said they're working on creating a memo, and they're going to make an effort to work with the K-12 institutions to ensure that our incoming seniors, and they're even discussing the juniors coming in just based on this impact of how they're working on their stance regarding SAT scores, regarding grades, trying to create greater pipelines to ensure our students' needs are met. And so the universities are well aware of the impact this is having on our students, and they're trying to create a customized pathway so that our students, again, won't be punished or won't be penalized for a circumstance that's outside of their control. So we actually have I have another check-in with Michigan State, U of M, Eastern, and I think Oakland next week. And so we're monitoring in Southfield, and Dr. Green is monitoring just the state. We're trying to monitor what effect, if any.
Oh, Mr. Fountain, I think you went out for a moment. I'll jump in until he comes back on. Another thing that we're doing is we're working in partnership with the Michigan College Access Network. They're providing a lot of virtual seminars for our students in preparation for them to go off to school. We're all working with our partners at Wayne State, the TRIO program, U of M, Michigan State, as Mr. Fountain mentioned, and a number of other institutions within the state of Michigan. We are partnered with just about every public university in the state of Michigan, there being 15. So we receive all of the information and all of the webinars and virtual experiences that our children can participate in. Those students that are further away or attending school out of state, we are connecting with them as well. Our seniors have one level of impact, but then our juniors have a different level of impact because they missed the SAT this year. So many of the universities are actually waiving the SAT requirement for the 2021 school year. And we don't want our students to look at that and assume that they don't have to take the SAT or they can stop studying for the SAT, because there are a number of other universities that are requiring the SAT for next year. So this gives our students more time to study, and that SAT will be offered for our students in the fall. I'm not sure if Mr. Fountain was able to get back on. Are you back, sir? If not, if we could scroll down to the next one, number 5, that speaks to the budget. And I know that Mark Ingram is on the line as well. So Mr. Fountain may need a moment to catch his breath because he's done a significant job explaining the plan to date. If Mark is not able to speak to this, I'll go ahead and address it. It's asking us about our expenditures during this time. And we've been very fortunate in that we had technology on hand to distribute to our families and to some of our staff members in need. However, we did capture those expenses because those are not expenses that we would normally have incurred had we not experienced COVID-19. So if we are in position to retrieve that funding back through a stimulus package, we definitely want to do that. As Mr. Fountain outlined before, we distributed close to 900 Chromebooks to students on today. I was at JWE distributing Chromebooks to staff members. who needed additional supports. One thing we found, our staff members, many of which have young children at home, had devices, but now they are homeschooling their own children as well as teaching our students in SPS. So sharing a device has become more of a challenge. Some of the parents that I spoke with in the area council PTA shared that they only took one Chromebook knowing that they had multiple children because they wanted to share the equipment throughout our entire district. I've now suggested that they come back to the next distribution and get a device for every child in their household. We, again, were in a good position to be able to distribute those to all of our families, but that was to the tune of approximately $750,000. So if we're able to recoup those expenses, that would be great. That also went to the supplies and transportation for food distribution. Again, we went above and beyond with all that we did in this plan. We are delivering door to door for families that have IEPs and or 504s or any type of barrier to receiving food. For example, we had one family who didn't have an IEP or a 504, but the parents were impacted by the possibility of COVID-19. And we knew that we had young children in that house. So we made it our business to go and deliver food to that door because our children were in that home. And after the parent got well, the parent was grateful for that support. So Southfield goes above and beyond. We are a family and we take care of our family first and foremost. The other things that are in the budget, the legal fees. So we have numerous opinions coming in from all of our legal counsel. Not that we're seeking their opinion, but many of them have us on an e-blast and they're sending it to all of their clients that are on retainer. Well, we quickly had to learn that there are some counselors that have more expertise in one area than the other, and several of them can read the same executive order and give you a different opinion. So knowing which legal counsel to refer to in a specific area has been value added throughout this process as well. However, we do recognize that we have some people that are circling the nest and looking for litigation in any way, shape, or form. It's most unfortunate that someone would try to capitalize off of the misfortune of a student and or a global pandemic, but those people do exist. So we do know that we may have some potential litigation in the future relative to how this plan has been executed in the future. Scrolling down, Anika, if you will, please describe the manner in which district administrator, board members, etc. As Mr. Fountain indicated, we've had teachers, we had the president and vice president of the SCA participate. We had Marcia Williams, who leads our university middle school and high school academy. I've had a number of calls with the area council PTA who have been extremely supportive throughout this process. And then as Leslie Lovesmith Thomas mentioned, we did have a conversation last night, and Talisha Rice was also on that call, and we spent close to 2 hours on that that information. So I do believe that we have included all of our stakeholders throughout this process. We've also included a number of our partners throughout this process because we have become dependent on them as it pertains to the supports that we're able to provide our families, particularly around the student support network piece. I'll continue to scroll down. How did we notify parents? We have notified them in a number of ways. We put out a lot of communication. We added a hyperlink on our website that speaks specifically to COVID-19 during the March 10th. And of course, this evening, we've gone in depth, and trustees were so kind enough to afford me an opportunity to do a Q&A with the public at the March 10th meeting because it was still very new. And they had a lot of questions. Actually, I don't think it was March 10th. I think it was the 11th because March 10th was the election. So we literally had the election on the 10th. We had a board meeting on the 11th, and on the night of the 12th, we closed schools. So it happened very fast. And then that next week, we were into planning mode. But we have engaged the community as frequent as possible. All of the requests that we've received, either through surveys and or social media or email, we have responded back to all of those individuals to ensure that they are getting their questions answered in a timely manner. Scrolling down, we want to implement I was initially thinking the 15th. Again, you know that I'm very aggressive in my timelines, but recognizing that we had to have more input, we're going to push that back to the 20th, which most districts in Oakland County are doing. So we'll begin to implement on the 20th of April. Going to the next one, which is the number 9, post-secondary. We relied on our experts. We looped in that of Elise Collier-Vaughn, and we looped in John Dignan to ensure that our students that had dual enrollment and or CTE were able to continue. For our dual enrollment students, many of the universities went online, and our students were able to complete those courses online in a virtual manner, and they will still receive the credit for those courses. For our career and technical education, the students will continue to participate virtually through Oakland schools, and their instructors will still be responsible for issuing them credit for those CTE courses. Scrolling down to number 10. How did we arrange for and provide continuation of food distribution? We've done this a variety of ways. You've heard me mention that we were doing the door-to-door distribution for families with IEPs and or 504s. Anyone with physical disabilities that could not come out. We were doing daily deliveries through our bus system. However, decided to, as the governor's order became more restrictive, we decided to take that process to a weekly distribution. We are still providing the same meals, but we are doing that once per week versus every day to eliminate some of the face-to-face contact. We also make sure that those distribution sites are equitable. We either have one on the east side of town and the west side of town, or the north side of town and the south side of town. We also have numerous alternate meal distributions and partnerships with food pantries, as you can see on your screen. We also have the hot meal distribution every day continuing at Thompson, but our partners have truly, truly stepped up in this process. As you can see, Anika scrolling through, we must have a page and a half of those partners that are willing to assist our families. And you'll notice that our partnerships are not only contained within Southfield. And the reason we decided to expand beyond Southfield had a lot to do with those individuals that are having to live somewhere else during this trying time, not because they have been displaced from their home, but some of our families are first responders, and they're on the front line at the hospital saving people's lives, and they're having to quarantine away from their families until they are able to get back to some semblance of normalcy in their home. So the children may not be in their physical home. They may be staying with a relative. So we provided resources for those caregivers of all of our children, not just their primary home during this time. Moving forward, we have a question regarding the collective bargaining agreement. I will say that Jolene Davis, new to our team, she's done an amazing job with that. We had letters of understanding with all of our bargaining groups. Some of them sunset at the end of this month. I believe one of them may have already come up with a sunset most recently, but she's working diligently, and I must commend all of our collective bargaining groups because they have all come to the table and have been willing and active participants in this process. So we're grateful to them for their continued support and partnership throughout this process. As one of the UNISERV directors stated, we were probably one of the first to come up with letters of understanding with our bargaining group. So that speaks volumes to the partnership that we have with them. Going to number 12. How we evaluate the participation of students. Mr. Fountain spoke to that earlier in terms of engagement. We make numerous calls. We reach out. We look at how many students have logged into the various platforms to have quantitative data, and then we have qualitative data. Yesterday, I was most touched by a senior parent who I happen to personally call, and I'm just picking random parents and calling throughout the district. And this parent initially picked up the phone and didn't really catch who I was, even though I stated my name. And then when she realized who I was on the phone, she burst into tears. And I thought something was wrong. And she said, this is the first time that I've allowed my emotional guard to come down, and to hear your voice and to know that you and your team are personally reaching out to each and every one of us speaks volumes to who you are as a district. So to that family, know that we'll continue to support, and we're going to continue to usher our seniors across the graduation line. So that's huge for us. Yes.
I'm sorry, Dr. Green. I literally just was able to reboot my computer and get back in. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We were rocking and rolling. We are now on 13, so you can pick up.
Okay, well, wonderful. It looks like you carried the ball to the finish line. So 13, you can scroll down, Anika. Thank you for being patient. I apologize for the technical difficulties. So 13, this has been, a bit of a stewardship and tremendous work done by the Student Support Network team, Mr. Beebe, Mr. Marshall, his team, and it outlines very specific support that we're offering for the social emotional needs, again, which is one of our most important components of the plan. And we're giving specific contact information and specific resources to families to ensure that we are caring for the whole child. Ascension has been instrumental in that. They're providing virtual support services for students and families in need. And as you can see through this specific list, you can keep scrolling through it, Anika, because I know we're getting near the end of the presentation. But we wanted to be very specific and very explicit in what resources are available, as we know that this is a major component of how we care for the whole child. And the purpose, you can stop at 14, Anika, was to just make sure that we were very intentional in what we included in the plan. And we wanted to operate and produce the work with care. And I think that including that information in the plan, which is a bit of above and beyond. Most districts' plan may have had a resource, but we found it important to recognize the majority of resources that we have our students gain access to is a part of our greater goal and plan. And then we finish it up with number 14 and how we plan on providing support efforts to mobilize disaster relief for students. And you can see what supports we are providing through the health and safety of Champions Children. And we also partner with Dr. Ray Abias to help navigate the pandemic with the employees. And so all of these components in totality, obviously we're coming to the end of the plan, but all of these components in totality, once we evaluated what was required, what was recommended, meet the approval process from the state, and then what we determined that was essential to us moving forward with the spirit of serving kids at the optimal level, this is what we came up with as a collective. And I have to say on record that it was just a tremendous amount of work, a yeoman's job. The curriculum team was fantastic. Assessment and accountability was fantastic. Data analysis, fantastic. We had a tremendous amount of time and energy spent on not just creating a plan, but creating a living, breathing document, the embodiment of the direction that Southfield Public School wants to go. And I felt very proud at the conclusion of the work to say that I was a part of it, and I felt like I was a part of it just in the spirit of it in its conclusion. That's the plan.
Mr. Fountain, if I could just add to your sentiments, we tried to include everyone in our process, and I know that Wes Prescott is on the line, and he's one of our unsung heroes because he never receives the acknowledgement. Wes is he runs our tech team and he's a representative of Oakland Schools, but we even had him on each and every one of our executive DN calls. So I just wanted to give him some acknowledgement because he too has actively engaged in the process, overcome some barriers. There's not one person that has contributed to this plan. And Dr. Lanisa Freeman, I must give her some credit as well. She was actually contacted to speak on one of our news stations most recently to highlight the phenomenal work that we're doing with the Intense Student Support Network. So from the Chief Academic Officer throughout the instructional division, the support division, talent management, finance, you name it, the entire team. And they even decided to forego their spring break last week to put forth every effort to making sure that this was a viable plan, not only for today, but for the future, given that no one is certain when we will return back to the brick and mortar, our accustomed to.
Well, before we open this up to questions for the trustees, I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you. Um, I've been hearing from various colleagues in other districts on what they're doing during this time, and to be honest with you, it's just not as comprehensive an effort as one that was just presented to you, the public. I would also like to, again, thank everyone in the district who stepped up in this time period of uncertainty and challenge to still support the students, to still feed the students, to still continue to go above and beyond. I mean, I know there are a lot of educators that are on the call right now and administrators. And again, I humbly and sincerely say thank you to all that you've done. To the food services folks who made a sandwich, to the bus drivers who are driving food to our students, to those who passed out Chromebooks, I thank you. There's a lot of things that you have done you simply didn't have to do, but you chose to do because you're passionate about the job that you have and the work that you're doing for our district. So with that being said, trustees, do you have any questions or comments at this time?
You have some comments in the chat from the trustees.
In the chat from the trustees? Okay.
So there was a question from Trustee Robinson by way of Trustee Rice, asking if what measures are in place for students if they've missed several months of learning. Will students be reassessed to see where they stand academically in their grade level? And my response via chat was all students will be reassessed in the fall. That's something we do on an ongoing basis with our formative assessments. We never want to assume that a student has mastered every content standard. So we do reassess on a frequent basis. Furthermore, we are putting systems in place to support students over the summer. That may be by way of an online platform. That may be by way of packets. What we can't assume at this time is that we will be able to have a traditional summer school. So we are looking at alternate ways to provide summer support to prevent the summer slide that some students experience when they're not in the classroom.
Okay, were there other comments? Because I believe that Trustee Smith-Thomas asked and received responses.
Nope,
I don't think there were any other ones.
Right?
I do. Thank you. Yes, my comment is specifically to Dr. Freeman and her team. I just want to really express my gratitude from a personal stance. My daughter has not missed a beat with her therapy. Her therapist with the early on program have been so diligent about finding resources, sending video clips for me to work directly with my daughter, looking through books, just anything they can find to continue building on what they had already been doing, especially in lack of having their materials. Maybe they left them at the buildings before the buildings were shut down and things like that, but just still being creative and being very diligent and staying in contact with us. And we've been doing regular sessions online, and I'm so grateful for it. And I just want to acknowledge Dr. Freeman and her team for that.
Any other comments, trustees?
Just based on the length of agenda, I certainly don't want to belabor, but I want to echo everything that Trustee Smith-Thomas just mentioned about Dr. Freeman and her team, as well as just everybody else in the central and ancillary spaces that help to make the district like a rock star throughout the country in comparison, which it's not a competition, but certainly we're proud of, I'm proud to say I'm a part of this school district. So keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thank you for your support throughout this process and prior to this process. To Trustee Love Smith-Thomas, one of the things that concerned our community when the governance spoke relative to FAPE, free and appropriate education, they essentially told us that if we didn't provide certain services for Our gen ed students, we didn't have to provide them for our students with IEPs and 504s. We were quite livid and offended by that statement. So we decided to take it a step above and beyond those things that we were being told in terms of basic guidance. And Dr. Freeman and her team, as I stated, really came together and put systems in place that really changed the trajectory of how we deliver instruction. This is an opportunity for Southfield to shine on every level, at the local level, county level, state level. I've been contacted already from some individuals asking me to present at a national platform in July. And I sent the communique to the board president and vice president and laughed, thinking we don't even know if we'll be able to go anywhere in July and present, but they are already watching what we are doing here at a local level. And we're only able to do the work that we are able to do through the support of our trustees. So we thank you in supporting us throughout this endeavor.
I wanted to just close out, Dr. Green. I forgot, whenever you get to the spirit of giving acknowledgments, just like at an award ceremony, you don't want to miss anybody who is central in the process. And the one group that I didn't mention, who've made my life tremendously easy through this process, is the work of the actual building leaders themselves. The one thing I did want to lift, and I actually had it in my notes, and when I got disconnected, I kind of fell behind in my processing. The building leaders across the board, the feedback that customarily comes to me, and Dr. Green knows this, obviously I'll get a lot of feedback, some of it affirming, some of it adjusting, some of it, just direct hard feedback. But during this entire process, the one thing I've got a ton of feedback about, which has all been affirmative, is the way in which the building leaders as a group have been able to consistently and continuously ensure that the process of virtual learning occurred without a hitch. I'm accustomed to getting a lot of hard feedback about what leaders and teachers aren't doing, but I will say during this entire process, I have enormous emails and very poignant emails from parents saying that principals have went above and beyond, creating YouTube videos, creating sing-alongs, sending additional thank you notes for students' engagement. And the principals customarily, as a former principal, it's not uncommon for principals to be the unsung hero, but they were definitely on my list of acknowledgement for this particular purpose, because they've made, in being consistent, proactive, made this process a much smoother process. And I think it's been a much more well-received process from families. So I didn't want to end this portion without giving an accolade, because the principals, and the district leadership has made the work much more impactful, because they've been doing what's necessary as we built the plan, and they've been eager to receive it, to execute it. So I just didn't want to close out without acknowledging them also.
No, you're absolutely accurate. And I know that the agenda is quite long, but I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the clerical unit as well, our ESOS unit and our MESPA unit. They too have been stepping up and doing whatever is necessary. And last but definitely not least is who is serving as our tech support this evening, but also we know that we are nothing without communication. We can have the best laid plans, but if that is not communicated to our staff and to our community, it's for naught. So thank you to Anika Corbett for all that she's done in communicating this process as well. So, Board President, I know that we have someone on the line from Baker Tilly, and Jesse has had to listen to our plan, and hopefully we didn't bore Jesse, but it gives him insight as to why he does what he does in an effort to support us. So if possible, could we switch the next item and move up the 2020 school building and site bonds presentation, and then come back to the Head Start report?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much. So we have on the line Jesse Nelson. We also have our own very own Mark Ingram, and I believe Mark is going to present, and then Jesse will be on the line if he needs to answer any questions. So Mark, if you would.
Good evening, board.
Good
evening. Last week, we were able to sell our non-voted bonds to Capital for 2.05%. This is almost half of what we originally assumed in our presentation to you that we were going to get. As a result, instead of being able to spend about 12.5 million for the sinking fund, we should be able to spend about 13.5 million on sinking fund projects. That could be the difference between a parking lot, 2 parking lots or 3 parking lots. We don't know, but that's a very big million. We do need to lock in this rate as soon as possible. We are trying to lock it in by this Friday. We've been told that the deal goes off the board if we don't agree to this 2.05% rate by Friday. We don't know with interest rates with the current market if we will be able to get a comparable rate if we go back out. It's highly recommended that we accept this deal. It's a very strong deal. It's probably as good as we're going to get. And if you have any questions, please ask them now.
So, Mr. Ingram, thank you for that update. I just want to repeat it a little bit differently so that make sure that the public heard what you explained. Recently, a resolution was brought before the board to look at getting a bond to use some of our sinking fund money sooner than later. And in an effort to give us an idea of how that would look, we had an interest rate of 4% to pretty much like refinance and get all of our money now as opposed to getting it in pieces over the duration of the sinking fund. Rates have dropped because of everything that's going on. So the projected 4% is now 2%. And because of that change, there's more money available as principal that we can use, as Mark said, to do a parking lot or other work or repairs to the district. So we're in a pretty good position if we were to proceed, if the board chooses to step back from the original proposal that was presented and to proceed with this new opportunity to bring additional funds to the district sooner.
And Board President, if I may add, it's just slightly over 2% interest rate. We initially discussed it being at a 4% interest rate, and the 2%, it's 2.05. That would be a fixed interest rate for the life of the bond. So I know that Jesse has taken off his mute, so I don't know if Jesse had some additional things that he wanted to highlight.
Well, there's
one.
So just one more thing that I don't think I heard was, because the interest rate goes down to 2%, we will get more money, potentially, but we'll also pay out less money. Close to, was it $250,000 or a little bit under? And money that we would have as interest that we would be paying back, that's even less money that we would have to pay out from a district perspective. And with that, I'll be quiet.
Yeah, Anika, can you scroll down to slide number 2, please? So this is the interest rate trend. You see the 5, 7, 10, and 15 and 20-year trends. Can you scroll to slide 3, Anika, please? So this is where you see the comparison. On January 28th, we brought to the board an assumption of a 4% interest rate, which would have brought in about 12.5 million in sinking fund dollars. Now the proposed rate is 2.05%, and this would allow us to have 13.5 million in capital funding. And as Mr. Hicks showed, we will be paying in just bond issuance costs $64,000 less under this actual rate. Anika, can we scroll down to slide 4, please? This is a summary prepared by Jesse and his buying team up at Baker Tilly, you will see that all of our various costs, our updated taxable value, our projected taxable growth of about 1.85%. See how much principal and interest we would have to pay. In the bottom right, you'll see our $150,000 in bond issuance and cost laid out in very granular detail. Anika, can you go down to slide 5, please? And this is just the amortization schedule for the 2020 bonds. So as you saw, we are paying about $64,000 less in issuance costs. We will get about $1 million more based upon what we presented in January. The 2.05% rate is locked in, as Dr. Green stated, for the life of the bonds. It's a very good deal for the district. And we'll take questions at this time.
Trustees, any questions?
If you don't mind going up one slide, I think it's slide 4. And perhaps it was said, and you know, sometimes with technical stuff, there may be delay and missing a word here or there. Could you just remind myself and anyone else, perhaps the blue box on the left, estimated construction funding? When we look at that total, it's about 15 I should say 15 million right above there, but you can see the bond per amount or bond par amount of 13 million and some change, and the balance of what's left there. And it says deposit to construction fund. Could you just articulate what that means for the layperson as it relates to the fact that it's probably a good 90% of what's going to be collected?
So
Does that make sense?
yeah, yes, ma'am. So if we just used our sinking fund for the next, through 2027, we will get $15.1 million, or excuse me, $15.2 million in sinking fund dollars. Now that we are going to borrow against those sinking fund dollars, we have to pay interest. So if we go to the estimated bond payments square at the right next to the estimated sinking fund collections, you'll see the principal payment of $13.7 million. We also have the interest at 2.05% on the various estimated collections, and get the total of 14.9 million, and then we get excess deficit, excess of about $250,000.
Yes,
Okay.
and I think that that is clear. My ask or my desire, if you wouldn't mind, is, or the superintendent, that word construction, deposit to construction fund, 13,509,532. Is it?
I know where you're going, Trustee Yolanda Smith Charles. So that you would like us to speak to the specific usage of this particular fund. Is that correct?
That's correct. Thank you.
Because okay, so it would be deposited into that of construction projects. It could not be used for lower class size. It could not be used for instructional purposes. Those are the things that we depend on the operating millage for. So we do have those funds as a result of our community's overwhelming support. This would go specifically to any construction projects. As we know, our district is close to $150+ million in deferred maintenance. And we are in need, desperate need of a lot of upgrades in our physical plant. So this would help to offset those costs. It's nowhere near what we need. However, we did not want to go after more funds than we knew and were comfortable in paying back. So we are going to essentially fast track our sinking fund dollars in through bonds, and then utilize our sinking fund dollars that our community granted us 2 years ago to pay back these bonds. But we'll be able to do a lot of the work on the front end versus $1.7 million over the duration of 10 years.
Yes, and that's exactly what I was hoping that you would highlight, because if I weren't paying attention to meetings, if I were, just living my life as a Southfield resident or Lathrop Village resident, perhaps I'm thinking that we're double dipping. Oh, we just did an election and now they're doing this. So I just wanted it to be crystal clear and in the record that it's serves two separate purposes and they don't overlap.
No, ma'am, they definitely do not. So thank you for lifting that into the conversation. So some of the things that we've earmarked relative to these dollars are that of the boilers. We know that our boilers are extremely outdated, some of which we can't even get parts for anymore. So if we had a boiler go out at any one of our buildings, we'd have to shut down that building. So this would afford us an opportunity to put a new boiler in one of our buildings. It would afford us an opportunity to redo some of the parking lots that we have throughout our district. As I mentioned in the last board meeting, the whole car almost fell into one of the potholes as I traveled around the district during the election. So we want to make sure that our properties are not only up to code, but are above and beyond. I mean, Southfield has a level of excellence and we want to maintain that level of excellence. The other thing that we're looking at doing is building out our fire academy. And we were on the cutting edge of developing a fire and first responders academy well before the COVID-19. And now with the COVID-19, we really see the need for building up the first responders for the future in our area. So that is on the board as well. Did we have any other questions regarding this proposal? Okay, Board President, you're on mute, so I'm not sure if you were speaking or if we were.
I don't think we have any more questions. Trustees, any more questions from you on this presentation? Okay. Dr. Green.
Okay, thank you. The next is the Head Start Director's Report, and I believe Trustee Robinson is not on the line, so I'm not sure if Vice President Joyce, you were going to speak to that, or Trustee Yolanda Smith-Charles, were you going to speak to that, or would you like me to ask Dr. Ferris to speak to the Director's Report?
Board President,
whatever your pleasure.
Did you see the chat box? You did have a question.
I was going to say, Board President, yeah. There is a question from Trustee Robinson regarding our last subject matter. And just to note that she is in the call, but you can't hear her. And I don't know if it's because she probably might be part of the attendees list. But just wanted to note that. And she does have a question posted in chat.
Okay, please read the question.
Oh, certainly. How will this affect the loan property if we're down next year? And will we lose any dollars as a part of an impact there?
Unfortunately, we will lose a little bit, yes.
So Jesse, I'm not sure if you can speak to that, because we did speak about the fact that we use conservative numbers, and we did estimate that we would have a little less coming in next year. So I see you took your mute off. If you could speak to that, please.
Yes, it's a good question. Certainly with the economic conditions changing, we moved that taxable value growth assumption down to 1.85%. And then we're also using a tax collection factor of 98%. Our tax collection factor is higher than that. But those are two items that we've put into place for changing economic conditions. And then also any sinking fund proceeds that are still in the account right now could be used to protect against that as well. So working with Mark and Josie and putting that forecast together, we wanted to make sure that we're conservative as possible. We can't predict the future, but we want to put as many of those items in place as possible.
Thank you, Jesse.
Any other questions?
Board President, so Trustee Robinson is sending a follow-up question through.
Well,
I'm not
let me ask you this. I can promote Trustee Robinson from the attendees list to panelists so she can ask her own question.
that would work just fine.
Who was she logged on as? I'm looking for her
Let
name
me
now.
check. Let me ask.
I see a Robinson.
You mean like which calling user?
Yeah.
Yep. Who are you? Hang on. She can hear you, by the way.
Okay, but I can't hear her, so I still need to know who she's logged on as.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of call-ins.
Yeah.
I know.
And the question, we know how much we would lose. And as Jesse outlined, we don't know how much we would lose at this time. However, the numbers that were built in were very, very conservative. Is that a correct statement, Jesse?
Yes, that is a correct statement. You know, before we were growing at a much higher percentage, and we've put the 1.85% in there. It is dependent on property values because the sinking fund is 0.7 mils, and then, you know, how much we bring in is certainly just dependent on the taxable value change. So, you know, as far as how much the 0.7 mils would increase or decrease will solely be on the change in property values going further. So we put 1.85% in there to be conservative, but, you know, that's certainly just an estimate, and we'll have to see how things play out going forward. And then again, we've put the 98% tax collection factor in there again. You know, we'll probably get around 99.5 in reality, but those are the two factors that we're putting in there to be conservative.
Board President, she's responding with her phone number and it's listed as Thomas Robinson, but I don't see that on the list here.
Trustee Rice, could you ask her if that answer,
Okay.
if Jesse was
Does
able
that
to
suffice?
answer?
Yep, certainly. The response suffice. She said yes.
Thank you. And if there are any follow-up questions, please feel free to send them to me and I could forward them to Jesse and or Mark to get any responses to additional questions that she may have.
Trustee Robinson, are you now on? Trustee Robinson? Okay, Dr. Green, what's your next topic?
The next item on the agenda is the director's report for Head Start, and I'm going to excuse Jesse if there are no additional questions because I know he's been enduring our meeting for the last 2 hours, and I'm sure he has some other things to do. So you're welcome to stay on with us, Jesse, but if not, please have a great evening and stay safe.
Oh, no, thank you very much, Dr. Green. Real quick, I did want to highlight throughout the process, the administration did a great job working with this. I felt horrible sending an email each day, hey, it's this or that, or delaying. And Dr. Green, Mark, and team just did a great job providing the information. The other thing that's important to highlight is our bond rating was reviewed as a part of this process, and the district did achieve an A rating, which was great news, and it's a strong credit rating. And just wanted to thank everyone for the call on putting that together. So otherwise, thank you very much for being a part of it. Again, we're excited about the interest rate, and you know, any other questions that may come up after the meeting, I'll be available. And thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Jesse. So going back to the next item on the agenda, that being the director's report, if one of the trustees would like to give that report as we customarily do. If not, I believe that we have our own director on the line, and she could very well give that report this evening. So if the trustees, are you in position to give the report in the absence of trustee Robinson or the nonverbal of trustee Robinson?
Yeah, Yolanda is not.
Or would you prefer? Okay. Vice President Joyce?
No, I'm not able to do it at this time. No.
Okay. I believe that we have Director Hill on the line. So if we can activate Director Hill's line, she can give her own report this evening.
Okay, one moment. Okay, she's just been changed. Oh, she's doing.
All right. Excellent. Director Hill, are you able to provide your report?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we are. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. Good morning. Forgive me. Good evening. The report for April 2020 for our enrollment, Head Start 160 out of 160, Early Head Start 16 out of 16, and Great Start 43 out of 48. We had 4 drops from Head Start. For Child Adult Care Food Program month of March 2020, Head Start 849 breakfasts, lunches 969, snacks 728. Early Head Start breakfast 105, lunch 107, snack AM 105, snack PM 107. Great Start breakfast 236, lunch 273, and snacks 218. I just wanted to share some information about the funding opportunities that are available for Head Start. Also, all applications will be due to the Office of Head Start by May the 15th. They have waived the requirement for in-kind match for these applications as a result of the pandemic. There is a COLA increase of 2% for program year base funding level, and it does exclude training and technical assistance. There is some expansion money available for Early Head Start. The RFP should be coming out in the summer, and they would award funding in March of 2021. There is quality improvement monies available for programs to take advantage of. We will be allotted a proportionate amount of quality improvement based on number of slots. And we have received our guidance letter from the Office of Head Start, and the district has been approved an additional $55,000 in quality improvement funding. And this will continue for the subsequent years that we have the actual grant application. The President has signed into law the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. And what that is going to allow programs to do is provide summer programming for those students who were going to be entering kindergarten in the fall, as well as children with individual education plans. I did submit an intent to apply. That was due actually on Monday, and we will be receiving guidance on how to apply for those funds. That is $500 million. An additional $250 million will be provided to programs to use throughout the program year 2021 to address any of the coronavirus issues that might be occurring within the program. That concludes my report.
Trustees, any questions? Hearing none, thank you, Mrs. Hill.
Board President, I'd also like to commend Director Hill and her team throughout this pandemic. They have still stepped up to the plate and are continuing to provide our families with additional support, such as food and diapers and those things that our family needs. So I just want to acknowledge her and her team throughout this process as well.
Great, thank you.
Board President?
Yes, sure.
Will we, I wasn't sure if you were going to the financials or if you were going to let us know that we'll be getting them later in the month, just for record keeping so we can be in compliance. No, our usual financial piece.
Oh, sure. Oh, well, Does she have them? Go ahead and do it now.
Not Ms. Hill. I'm not sure who would have it.
Yeah, I don't believe that that is included in this report because this report is only reflective of 2 weeks. It
Okay.
put us in a serious situation. We will follow up with that, and if so, we will present that at the study session to ensure that we're in compliance with the Office of Head Start.
Cool. Any other questions for Director Hill? Thank you. Dr. Green, anything else from your report? I think we hit.
Report of the superintendent. We are on to the action items and the consent agenda.
Okay. So the chair will entertain a motion to open and approve the consent agenda.
Board President.
Yes.
My apologies to interrupt. I had been typing in the chat that I had a question. This is specific, not specific to Head Start, but just this group as a whole, our early childhood as it relates to our transitioning kindergartners. How have we been supporting our families, those students who were prepared to enroll as a kindergartner for the upcoming school year? How have we been supporting them in transition?
Well, fortunately, we conducted the majority of all of our kindergarten roundups. We have some photos of our students with the class of 2033 on their t-shirts. And so we know who they are, and we are prepared to continue supporting them throughout the summer. Another thing that we failed to address, but it's definitely embedded in our plan, is that of our the suspension of assessments for this year. So those students that would have been impacted by the Read by Grade 3 and for the M-STEP, though all of those assessments have been suspended for this year. So no student will be held back as it pertains to Read by Grade 3. However, we will continue to provide additional supports to those families, given that they have already been identified and supports have been developed for them, not only through the duration of this school year ending the second week in June, but through the summer as well.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to.
Okay, a kind of a couple questions from Trustee Robinson, and forgive me, I'm trying to read through text here. She's inquired about the total amount of the grant for Head Start, and then secondarily, looking to identify how the funds will be utilized for quality improvement.
So Trustee Rice and Trustee Robinson, we are via text as well, making provisions for for Director Hill and Dr. Ferris to come back to the study session so they can go into greater detail. I believe the grant that Director Hill referenced was an intent to apply and not actually an award letter. And then, of course, as we roll out what that intent entails, I'm sure that the Policy Council will be involved in that conversation, but we will have on the agenda for the study session a full report from the Head Start and Bussy.
Trustee Rice, did you have another question?
Nothing further. Thank you very much.
Chair will entertain a motion to open and approve the consent agenda.
This is for Mr. Charles. I support.
So trustees, do this for me. Since we're on the call, I think I heard Poole and Charles. But if we could just say our name and then whether we're making the motion or supporting, just to make sure that we capture properly. Okay, so there's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve the consent agenda. Any questions or discussion or correction? Hearing none, please call for the vote.
Trustee Rice?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Poole?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson? She type her response.
I'm waiting to see if I get a response. She said yes.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carried. Chair will entertain a motion to open and approve Report 5864, Talent Management Action Report.
So moved, Daryl B. Joyce.
Supported by Trustee
It's
Poole.
been properly moved and seconded to open and approve Report 5864. Any questions? Hearing none, please call for the vote.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson? Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Yes. Trustee Poole?
Yes.
Rice?
Yes.
Trustee Rice?
Yes.
Okay, I think Trustee Rice responded 2 times. Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Rice?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
I don't have a response yet. I just responded back, are you voting? And I'm still awaiting. I don't know. I still don't have a response, so.
All right. We can move forward.
Oh, she says yes. She just said yeah.
Okay, unanimous.
Motion carried. The chair will entertain a motion to open and approve Report 5865, second reading revised policy.
Yolanda Charles. I move we open Report 5865.
Board Trustee Poole. Support.
Been properly moved and seconded to open and approve Report 5865. Any questions?
Board President, if I may, not a question, but I do have a response to the last inquiry. A trustee Yolanda Smith-Charles asked if I could highlight the specific language that changed in this board policy. And there are just 2 items, that being that our directory information will now include a student's address as well as their phone number. In the past, it did not include those items. So those are just the 2 items that will be included in this new policy and in our directory information.
Okay. Any questions, trustees?
I'm sorry, I was unable to capture who supported that motion.
It was Poole.
Thank you.
Please call for the vote.
Trustee Rice?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Poole?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
She said yes.
Thank you. Unanimous.
Motion carried. The chair will entertain a motion to open and approve Report 5866, resolution to temporarily suspend board policy.
Moved, Daryl B. Joyce.
Support, Thomas.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any questions?
Board President, if I may just give some background to this specifically
Absolutely.
executive order, the governor's executive order 2020-33, which declared a state of emergency for the state of Michigan and a state of disaster across the state of Michigan. So this temporarily suspends the board policy order for us to properly execute the executive order. This policy or this resolution was recommended to us by Collins and Blaha.
Any questions, trustees?
Yeah, so I read it, and of course, per most resolutions, there's a lot of whereases and what have you. And so I was just looking for like the end date, if there was one, and if it was like all encompassing, or if it's just like I see FOIA, there's some changes with FOIA perhaps. So if I could get that answered, if it's all encompassing, and what's the end date if there is one.
So this policy, this resolution speaks specifically to 33, it speaks to 15, it speaks to 35, which suspends the in-school or in-person instruction. It speaks to the remote participation at the public meetings, and it speaks to Executive Order 21 regarding activities that are not necessary to sustain or protect life. So the other resolutions that you will see later in the agenda speak to other executive orders as outlined by the governor, and all of the sunset dates on these specific resolutions are in alignment with the sunset dates on the governor's executive orders. The governor's executive orders end, these resolutions in theory would end also, unless the board saw fit to come back and vote that they end the resolution prior to.
Okay, very clear. Thank you.
Any other questions, trustees?
Yeah, Board President.
Yes.
My question is similar or dovetail to Trustee Charles around the impact of it. So I'm looking for, I guess, inclusivity of it. Is it directly tied to the executive order for the piece on teacher certification and continuing education, which gives the superintendent flexibility when it comes to issuing the educators certifications and renewals to address COVID-19, or is this more broadly? It's what my question.
So this particular one speaks more specifically to 15, 20, 21, and 35 and 38. There's another policy that speaks to some other executive orders there. There are three resolutions in total that speak to executive powers to implement the executive orders. Anything above and beyond what is outlined in the executive order will remain intact. It's also very specific in that anything that is implemented on behalf of the school district and the Board of Education is with your total knowledge and understanding that those things are occurring. Again, if at any time the trustees felt that those executive powers were being abused, you definitely maintain the right to come back together and to revote and excuse those executive powers when you see fit.
Any other questions, trustees?
I've
none, please call.
a few from Trustee Robinson. If you guys can hear me, I'm off mute. There's three questions here. Does this remove board approvals? Is this just during the pandemic? And why is this necessary now? It's the three questions that she has. Didn't get a chance to put them in chat yet.
Board President, if you'd like to expound on it, yes. One, this is only during the pandemic. This is only exclusive of the executive order. And what was the other question?
Does this remove board approvals? Is this just during the pandemic, and why is this necessary now?
So it's necessary now because of the pandemic.
Well, let me give you an example. It's not overriding all of the policy that we have adopted. What it does is it aligns us with what the executive orders from the governor states. For example, the meeting that we're having today, we could not have unless we had the executive order, because all trustees are on a remote communication when we need to have at least 4 in a room to have a quorum. So what this does is it allows us to align with the executive orders so that our policies don't conflict. And it's only the ones that potentially may conflict with the executive orders that we're asking to have suspension at this time.
I think, and this is just a follow-up from me, from Trustee Robinson. Would it be best if we had some call-outs to the specific categories or areas of the executive order to which it aligns to? I think might help to clear up some of the confusion.
I thought we did have that in the board packet.
So, and if I may add, because the executive orders are continuing to evolve, as I stated at the beginning of the superintendent's report, we've had 38 executive orders in a matter of less than 30 days. So they continue to evolve, and some of the executive orders supersede previous executive orders. This is a way to ensure the continuity of services to our community, to our students, and to our staff throughout this process without calling a full board meeting every other day, as we've now learned has been required by the various press conferences. However, again, it's at the pleasure of the board.
May I also interject as a trustee as well, because I too would have those same questions, just like I said earlier with those whereases. Trustee Rice, if you, for example, look at that first page, the whereas, it also says that second section, each one of those executive orders, 15 is followed by the high level explanation of it, so authorizing remote participation in public meetings, 21 suspending activities, etc. So that's how I'm reading it. Each one of these resolutions will hopefully have their own piece in there. So this one I'm pretty good on.
You're absolutely correct, Trustee Yolanda Smith-Charles. They all explain which executive orders are being impacted by the various resolutions.
No further questions for me if we're holding there.
Please call for the vote.
Trustee Rice,
Yes.
Trustee Joyce,
Yes.
Trustee Poole,
Yes.
myself, yes. Trustee Charles,
Yes.
Trustee Robinson,
No.
Trustee Hicks,
Yes.
6-1.
Motion carried. Chair will entertain a motion to open and approve Report 5867, amendment to resolution authorizing 2020 school building and site bond limited tax general obligation.
Yolanda Charles, I move we open report 5867.
Do we have a support?
Support.
Trustee Rice, support.
It's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve Report 5867. Any question? Anything from Trustee Robinson, from anyone?
Board President, I'll just add that this resolution speaks specifically to the information that was shared by Jesse Nelson from Baker Tilly and Mark Ingram, our Chief Financial Officer.
And to that point, Dr. Martin Green, I just was wondering, because Mr. Ingram mentioned by Friday, I hate for us to lose any ground if this happens to pass. So I guess it's without saying that it will be before Friday.
If this does not pass, Trustee, then
no. If it passes, I mean, you know, in the light of it passing.
Yes, and in light of it passing, we would submit the information to Baker Tilly as soon as tomorrow, and they would secure the funding for the district at a fixed rate of 2.05%.
Please call for the vote.
Trustee Robinson?
Yes.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Yes. Trustee Paul?
Yes.
Joyce? Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Rice?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Motion carried. Dr. Green, before I ask for the opening and an approval of the next one, can you give some background on report 5868?
Yes, similar to the other resolution that was passed, this is recommended to us by Neola. It speaks specifically to Executive Order 2020-21 and 2020-35 regarding the continued closure of all public and private school buildings for educational purposes as a safeguard to the further spread of COVID-19. Again, this would sunset when this particular executive order sunset as well.
Chair will entertain a motion to open and approve report 5868, resolution to grant emergency powers to the superintendent.
So moved, Darrell B. Joyce.
So moved, Yolanda Charles. Through the chair, I just want us to make sure that
I'm sorry. What's the point of order? Point of clarity. Was that a support from Trustee Charles?
to open the report.
A support. You said you moved.
Mr. Joyce opened it and I supported it.
Right. The wording you used was so moved. Just want to clear.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay.
In the spirit of clarity, I think it's important that
hold on. We have to. It's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve report 5868. Please ask your question, trustee, or make your statement.
Right. My statement was simply that the portion of which Dr. Green just spoke on typically comes inside the report. So I was it just seemed different. Thank you.
I think, Board President, my question was, I heard two different things, and I just want to see, am I clear? I heard Trustee Smith Charles indicate open, and then you indicated open and approve. Are we?
Well,
which one it is?
So what I had read when I made my initial statement, it was the chair will entertain a motion to open and approve report 5868.
Mm-hmm.
Trustee Joyce said so moved. Then Trustee Charles seconded.
Okay.
Trustee Rice, if I may also add, this particular resolution really outlines those specific tasks that the superintendent will adhere to on the page 2 at the bottom, number 1, 2, and 3. It outlines what is expected.
Any additional questions or comment on report 5868? Hearing none, please call for the vote.
Trustee Rice?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes. Yes.
Trustee Poole?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Trustee Charles?
Yes.
Trustee Robinson?
No. This is 5868, right?
Correct.
Yep, she's got 5868, no.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
I do have a follow-up question here. It's back to Trustee Smith Charles' question earlier on the timing of it. Because it indicates temporarily waives. And so do we have any timing outline or?
So all of these sunset when the executive order sunset, and if the executive orders have subsequent extensions, then those executive powers would remain in place while the executive orders are in place. So if the governor in June decides that it is not safe to return back to school buildings, and they extend, or she extends the executive order throughout the summer months, then the executive powers being granted would extend in order to properly execute the executive order, unless the board comes back together and decides that they no longer want those executive powers to exist. It's only for the time in which the executive orders are in place.
Got it, thank you.
I'm sorry, Trustee Rice, did you vote on this one?
Yeah,
Okay.
6-1.
Board Secretary, motion carried. Chair will entertain a motion to open and approve Report 5869, resolution to grant emergency powers to the superintendent to comply with Executive Order 2020-35.
So moved, Darrell B. Joyce.
Do we have a second?
Support, Thomas.
It's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve Report 5869. Any questions or comments?
Board President, if
Yes.
I may just provide a comment. One of the things that's very important through this resolution is the flexibility of graduation requirements. So I am currently serving as one of the co-chairs of the county-wide graduation and grades committee. And one of the things we're discussing as a result of the governor's executive order is suspending the graduation requirements of every district within Oakland County. The Oakland County graduation requirements supersede that of the regular Michigan Merit Curriculum. And at this time, because we are looking to hold we're looking to hold all students harmless throughout this process, one of the decisions that would be made is if we are willing to promote students or graduate students that have met the Michigan Merit Curriculum, which is that of the state requirement versus that of the district requirement. So that's just one of the things that this provision covers. It also speaks to that of partnering with other districts. And let me give you a real life example. The governor has suspended that of commercial landscape and commercial lawn service throughout this process. We all know, and I relive every day, last summer when we had the extensive amount of rain and it required me to go out and help cut some of the lawns of some of our properties. Well, right now we don't have a lawn service. And we know that in a matter of time,
you didn't edge all that well though, by the way.
I did not edge well, but that was not my expertise and that was not on my curriculum vitae. So, hey, I can only be held accountable for what I told you I could do. So I just I know that we're in a position right now where we can't go to a Home Depot or any other big box store and buy lawn equipment because those things have been prohibited. And now we are in a position when the district decided to outsource our maintenance in that regard, we sold all of our equipment. That was 10 years ago before any of us were on the executive team. So now we're in a position where one superintendent in Oakland County bought goats, and I'm not trying to go down that path. However, we as superintendents are trying to come up with real-time solutions to solve real-world problems. We own the most property in Southfield, and we know that our residents are very keen on what our properties look like in terms of curbside appeal. So we do not want to let our properties fall short in this regard. So that may involve me partnering with another district and utilizing either their services and or equipment. We don't know.
So Dr. Green, because of the executive order, would the city or could the city help support us in the interim?
They could, but again, that would be something that I would have to reach out to the mayor on. And I've been speaking with the mayor and our other partners on a regular basis. But that is what, just one example of what this resolution would afford me the opportunity to do as we work hard to comply with Executive Order 2020-35.
Board President,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Point of clarity for myself, and perhaps I'm missing something, but in front of me, report 5869 speaks to training and technical assistance plan for Head Start. Is there supposed to be another resolution?
Are you on 5869?
69.
59.
Well, maybe
69 is resolution to grant emergency powers to the superintendent to comply with executive order. It should be 2020-35.
No, that's not what my agenda or my packet has, unless there's an updated version that I don't have.
Yeah, maybe on the public agenda, it pushed everything down one. The Head Start Region 5 annual report is 5870.
Public agenda is good. That's the one I'm using.
Okay, I'm using the one that was sent in the email. Okay, I'll update my notes.
Thank you, and we apologize. The this resolution was also brought to us by Neola, and it was brought to us late. And I know that Ms. Norris emailed it to us all late. So I'm believing that once she populated it into the agenda, it pushed down all of the numbers.
so.
Okay.
Dr. Green, Trustee Robinson has a question on 5869, and it reads, will key staff members be included in training?
Ish 5869 doesn't specifically speak to training. That is 5870.
Okay, well, yeah, so we'll hold up.
Okay.
Any other questions on 5869? Hearing none, please call for the vote.
Trustee Hicks,
Yes.
Trustee Robinson,
Trustee Robinson is indicating she doesn't have this resolution either. And I haven't received a vote from her yet.
Trustee Charles,
My vote is yes.
myself, yes. Trustee Poole,
Yes.
Trustee Joyce,
Yes.
Trustee Rice,
I don't have this one either. I'm gonna vote no here. And I've got Trustee Robinson is voting no also with the same rationale. She doesn't have this one.
5-2, motion
5
carried.
yes, 2 no. And I'll just speak to the fact that I vote in confidence. My yes vote, although it's not in front of me, I did see the email, the late email that came in from Ms. Norris, and I trust in confidence the information that was shared in the background that was given by the superintendent.
And Board
Motion
President,
carried. Yep, sure, go ahead.
These last three votes are not, I don't think any of us take lightly when we talk about suspending board, powers in some capacity. So I just feel like it's appropriate to just make that clear in the record that without utmost confidence in the leadership, based on what I've seen, I felt comfortable with these last three. Under other circumstances, under other admins, it could go differently. So I think it speaks very boldly about the team we've assembled.
Thank you.
And I'm extremely grateful for your support. Nothing that we do will be without your notification. And if there are any questions along the way, I am always accessible via phone, email, and or in person. Of course, that's with the mask and 6 feet of distance.
Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to open and approve Report 5870, Head Start Region 5 Annual Report.
Yolanda Charles, I move we open that report, 5870.
Just open or open and approve?
I'm sorry, open and approve.
Do we have a support?
Support, Gerald B. Joyce.
It's been properly moved and seconded to open and approve Report 5870. Trustee Robinson had a question. Will key staff members be included in training?
Absolutely. All staff members as identified by the director and support will be included in training.
Are there other questions on Report 5870?
I looked at 5870, the portion about the self-assessment, and hopefully my eyes just overlooked something, but I was really glad to see in the findings, I should say to not see in the findings anything to do with the Board of Education. And I say that respectfully, but also seriously. I'm glad that we're not on there, and hopefully we're not, and I just didn't overlook it.
Any other comments or statements? Hearing none, please call for the vote.
Trustee Hicks,
Yes.
Trustee Robinson,
I haven't received a response yet.
Trustee Rice,
Yes.
Trustee Charles,
Yes.
myself, yes, Trustee Full,
Yes.
Trustee Joyce,
Yes.
Trustee Robinson,
Yes.
unanimous.
Motion carried. Informational items. Report 5871, food service contract.
Scott Toko, are you online? If so, can you unmute?
Well, hold on. I'm going to have to.
You don't-
Board
President?
Yes, ma'am.
I think we
Can we
have to open.
can we make this into an action item? Because I feel like it's coming, and we could just make it an action item, and that way we can discuss and then vote, perhaps.
Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion to open and approve Report 5871.
I move we open and approve report 5871.
Support, Gerald B.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Well, let me find Toko first. We can give us background. Not seeing.
If you're not able to find Toko, we have Josie Petita as well as Mark Ingram on the line. So any one of them.
All right, so I'm going to promote Josie. And Josie, if you can unmute yourself.
Good evening. I'd have to find my mute button first. Okay. Hang on one second. I'm sorry. I lost the motion in front of me.
This is for the one-year continuation for Southwest Food Excellence to continue as our food service provider.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Green. It would be renewal of the contract for the next upcoming year. The approximate cost would be $2,474,316 for the continuation of services for the food service operations. Are there any questions?
Trustee?
Or so for the superintendent or the board president, just was there a two-person team from the board who participated in this? Although I'm very happy with the company, I just was wondering if that happened this year too.
So the two-person team from the Board of Education that sat in on the RFPs, I believe were our current president and vice president, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
As well as some of our leadership team, including the principal of KLC, because the students have particular dietary needs there.
So
Good to know. Thank you.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, please call for the vote.
Trustee Hicks,
Yes.
Trustee Robinson,
Trustee Robinson is indicating that she doesn't have this one in her packet. She hasn't provided a vote. Perhaps we should indicate it's on page 172. Maybe come back.
Trustee Rice, Trustee Rice,
Oh, yes.
Trustee Charles,
Yes.
myself, yes. Trustee Paul,
Yes.
Trustee Joyce,
Yes.
Trustee Robinson,
She said yes.
unanimous.
Motion carried. Bill disbursement report.
Good evening, board. Last month, we spent $8 million, $3 million in payroll, covering 2 payrolls, $3.6 million in wire transfers. Majority of that was on the general fund and the food service fund. Then we had another 1.4 million in accounts payable, and actually in ACHs, that was mainly to the ORS. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Just following up. All right, hearing none. Public participation. If you wish to address the board regarding school-related issues that have not yet been resolved by school administration, please click on the hand in the lower right-hand corner. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual. As a matter of fairness, speakers with complaints against individuals are asked to not mention persons by name. Complaints concerning employees pursuant to Board Policy 9130 should be brought to the attention of school principals or other administrators before coming to the Board of Education. Your cooperation is appreciated. Ms. Slate, please state your name and address.
Kathy Slate, 17539 Westland Avenue, Southfield, Michigan, 48075. Just had a question or comment about the grading in the plan. And I do agree, of course, we're not going to give letter grades. That wouldn't make sense, but more on the performance indicators like we would on the standards-based report card, which I think the district was looking at a few years ago, but for K-5 anyway. I was just wondering if that would be more in line of what we're looking at in terms of the grading. It wasn't really specified to say what it was going to be. I was just concerned about whether or not would it be like, advanced or proficient or needs help, more along those guidelines. Because I know a lot of parents are asking about it. And my concern with that is if there is no, I don't like to use the word consequence, but if there's no accountability for the students, then that participation in terms of trying to get them to get their assignments completed, it's not going to happen. Because we're seeing that right now. We saw it with the 3 weeks that we were out prior to the school year or the in-person instruction ending. Even parents saying, well, if it's not going to be graded, should we take these assignments seriously? So I do think some parameters need to be in place to let them know that something is, that we're going to look at it, or some sort of quote unquote grade or accountability is going to be put in place, because if it's not really stressed, I don't see the participation with the students really being that high. That's a real, it's a concern now. Just based on the 4th and 5th graders that I see that have Chromebooks, district Chromebooks, and those who have Chromebooks, I would say at least 60% of them are not even doing the assignments, and they got Chromebooks from the district. So, and that's just 4th and 5th grade at Thompson. I can't speak for the other grade levels, but I'm just really concerned about that lack of accountability for students, and just hopefully that plan would address that. And also, I was wondering if the district even knew if we had any students that were directly impacted by COVID-19, because I think that's something that teachers would need to know, because we talk to our students and reach out to our students. But, I know one parent did reach out to me and say her son was in hospital. So I just wondered, is that data available for teachers? And that's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Slade. Mr. Goolsby.
Southfield Board of Education, I must commend you on your efforts in trying to work above the catastrophic situations. I know you spent a lot of sleepless nights, or sleepless days too, for that fact. And I want to commend you all for coming up with creative ideas and trying to make this work. I think I know all of you, and your dedication to the school district is unparalleled. And I know that you'll work above all of this. And I really personally appreciate the job that you all are trying to do. This is uncharted territory, and it's going to be trial and error. So just hang in there and lean on each other. And you got my support also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there other comments of public participation? If so, again, please click on the raise your hand icon at the lower part of your screen on the right-hand side. Currently don't see any additional questions.
Board
You've got a
President,
question.
there are questions in the chat.
Yeah, from Andrea Wright is what it says. Will summer packets still be required to complete?
And Georgette Sims.
Okay.
Did you want Leslie to read that one too, or did you want to?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought one of you were going to read it.
It's so at 7:50, Georgette Sims, how will credits be earned and a GPA generated for the purpose of college and scholarship applications? Our university.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Jennifer GWILT wrote, our university still expecting final semester grade reports with letter grades from seniors. Shelley wrote in the chat, I'm not sure how the questioning process goes, may have already been answered, but what was the new plan and action for seniors to graduate despite impacts on their grades? And then the last one, like I said, is from Miss Andrea Wright, will summer packets still be required to complete?
So Board President, if I may, I know a lot of these questions will be addressed. We are planning to have a power hour. I'm planning to have a power hour with our community on April 23rd at 6:30 p.m. The information went out via social media. Some of the questions that were just lifted in the chat were addressed throughout the presentation, and the entire plan will be published for our entire community to see and to have a chance to digest. And I'm sure there are going to be numerous additional questions after that time. So if anyone is interested in asking any questions, I will be addressing the entire community and our student population. The last thing that I would like to add is that our seniors are very, very important to all of us, and we are not going to let them finish out this year without celebrating them. So we are looking at various possibilities for either postponing graduation or having some type of virtual graduation and postponing prom. We're looking at all of that because each and every memory that they created, we want them to have and be able to celebrate. This COVID-19 is definitely a memory that they will probably be the only class to put in their books, because the last pandemic happened 100 years ago. Hopefully, you're right. So tomorrow I do have a meeting with all of the high school administrators to kind of flesh out what that may look like. But I just want our families to rest assured that we are not ignoring the fact that our seniors deserve to be recognized, and we will recognize them in all ways possible throughout the next 8 weeks.
Well, I guess anything for the good of the order. One thing that I had is, I guess one of the silver linings with this pandemic, I believe, is going to be a greater appreciation for teachers. Parents having to deal with their children even more in an educator capacity will realize that it's not necessarily always the teacher. Sometimes it is the son and the daughter that's not doing what they're supposed to do. I've had to check my children on a few things just to make sure that they're continuing with their work as they're supposed to. Almost wanted to call a student hearing because they were fighting each other. So I no longer just empathize with teachers. I sympathize with and appreciate all the things that you all do. And I'm sure many other parents feel the same. Anything for the good of the order.
Board President, if I may interject, because you're the host of the WebEx, if we could get all of those questions from the chat, my team will gladly respond to each and every one of those stakeholders that had questions. If you could forward those to me in some way, shape, or form.
Gotta find out how to do that. Okay, yeah, no problem. Working on it.
Thank you, sir.
Just a quick comment, thanking all of the folks on the line who took time from their busy, active evening today to hop on this meeting call. I mean, like Board President said, there have been some gifts inside of this curse-like time, where you didn't have time to do other things before and now you do. So some of those names I see are hardworking educators who probably didn't have a chance to come and sit in a meeting. So I'm super glad to see that they were able to show up today.
Board President,
Yes, ma'am. Please
might I ask or suggest that the chat questions, that those who submitted those questions email them to me following our board policy. That way they can be sent directly to the superintendent.
Absolutely.
We have their contacts.
Oh, absolutely. That's a good idea.
So I will respond right here in the chat with my email address. And those who have submitted questions, please submit them to me along with your contact information so that the superintendent and her team might get back to you in the way that you would have them to contact you.
Other for the good of the order. I think I saw another question from Trustee Robinson. Thought I did. Yeah, question from Trustee Robinson. Follow up to the CFO's discussion. What does ORS mean?
Office of Retirement Services. Office of Retirement Services.
That does not mean.
Any other questions or anything else for the good of the order? Hearing none. Future meetings, Tuesday, April 28th, 2020, 6:30 p.m., special board meeting study session. Tuesday, May 12th, 2020, 7 p.m., regular board meeting. Again, I want to thank the trustees, the community, administration, I know this is non-conventional, but I'm glad that we're able to stay connected and conduct the business of the district. Until we meet again, meeting adjourned at 10:02 p.m.
Stay safe, stay well, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.